shit guys yous like me feel like the world's changing so fast? I'm starting to feel like that lately. It just seems to be hard to keep up. I remember reading in a book a few years ago, if you want to know where you'll be 5 or 10 years time, look at someone doing what you're doing right now, but they've been doing it for 5 years longer. And if you want to be where they are, do what they're doing. And I'll tell you what, I reckon they need to change that to about every 2 years now. Because 5 years ago, people were doing completely different shit to what's going on now. And maybe shit needed to change, I don't know. And maybe as I get older, I need to be a bit more open to change. I try to be, but it's not always easy when you've been doing shit one way for years. I definitely feel like people are getting a bit softer. I don't want to offend anyone, but there you go. Don't want to offend anyone. Really, I don't care if I offend you if you're too soft to handle that. No, I do. But, you know, really, you can't say shit without offending someone these days. Maybe years ago, we never really thought about people's feelings enough, I'm not sure. I think even the young ones struggle with this, you know. I think people need to toughen up a little bit. All this soft shit, you know, I think the young ones need strong people around them. You know, they need to be told what to do sometimes. They're young, shit. I think that's what sometimes, you know, you don't get told what to do. You feel lost and then you start acting out. Maybe not told what to do, but if you don't get strong leadership, maybe that's what I mean really. We need stronger leadership. I don't really know what that looks like, but in business, in life and stuff, what used to work, I don't think it works as well anymore. You used to be able to just work hard and get ahead. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older. But as I get older, I've got to start working a bit smarter and not harder. I think when I was younger, I just used to be able to maybe hard work my way to success. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you know, you could just work hard and succeed. Maybe that wasn't even success, but not sure what your thoughts are on that, but you know, maybe if I could have learnt younger to be a bit smarter, don't know. As I'm getting older, I'm starting to pay for that hard work. Back's playing up, shit like that, so maybe I should have been a bit smarter when I was younger. Maybe it's just the fact that I turned 50 not long ago. I think shit always stays the same, but I think sometimes we use a milestone like turning 50 as a point to maybe reflect a bit more, and maybe that's what's happened to me. Maybe I should have reflected a bit more at 40. But anyway, that's where I'm at now, is 50, and you know, I think one thing I do know is I can't keep doing what I'm doing and expect different results. They reckon that's the definition of insanity. That's a bit hard. I think everyone does a bit of that, but doesn't mean you're insane. But I think we need to, you know, start reflecting a bit earlier. You know, I sit and reflect a fair bit. The other day I was sitting at home on my own and I was thinking, holy shit, is this what it's like now? It used to be all the kids. Everything was around the kids. Everything we did. Weekends, let's plan something to do with the kids. During the week, let's go and catch up with such and such, and the kids can play together. But as you get older, it's more about I might just chill at home this weekend, which blows me away, you know. And then you find a habit of chilling at home and you're not doing shit, and then you start getting the sore back and stuff. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. I need to get out more and get a bit more physical and plan shit on weekends. When shit starts changing, but it can change and you don't even notice it. You know, I went from every weekend fishing and doing stuff with the boys. Next minute I'm chilling at home and I didn't even notice the change. It just happened. I think maybe that's just what happens, and maybe I do need to start slowing down a bit. I'm not really sure. Don't know if this has happened to you, but it's happening to me. If you got young kids, make the most of it, because next minute, weekends, you're sitting at home like me. Nah, look, I'm still young enough, and I've got a daughter, and I'm enjoying doing stuff with her, but she works a lot. A couple of boys are left home, and I've always been a bit of a harder father. Like, I want the best for my kids, and I want them to be the best they can be. So I've been, I suppose, being hard on them, trying to make them the best people they can be, and always thought, geez, when they get older, are they ever going to talk to me again? What I'm finding, but, is I'm talking to them probably more than I did when they're at home. If they got an issue or a problem, they ring me up. What do you think about this? A lot of times they probably don't ring me. When things are going good, they ring me. When things are bad, if I haven't heard from them for a while, I start thinking maybe things mightn't be as good. I might just touch base. And I love that, And I love that me boys are out doing their own thing, and I know they're going to succeed. I'm not just saying that. I actually do feel like they're going to succeed, and that's a good feeling. But they're going to make mistakes, and as a dad, when you're sitting there watching that, it can be hard to watch that. I've still got one son at home doing an apprenticeship, and it's funny, I've been there and done that before. Went through it with the older boys. I've sort of been hard on the boys about drinking. I've never drank in front of them much. Very rarely do I ever drink in front of the boys. Now they're older, but I've still got a daughter at home, so I don't drink at home. I don't go out partying. I don't make drinking a big thing, But what I've seen is the boys, as they've grown, they go through the stages. Like, 1 minute, Dad knows nothing, I know everything, and all that, and that's normal. If that didn't happen, you'd be worried about them. But they go through stages, and when they start getting to that age where they can drink and go out, it's hard to let them go. You feel like, geez, mate, don't be a dickhead, but I think you just got to hang back and let it happen. You can't micromanage them. The boys, it's been weird for me having to step back and learning how to step back and let shit happen. But anyway, I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, but I do enjoy talking to them, and I think as a dad, being a little bit harder. Sometimes when you got kids and you seem to be rousing on them all the time, especially we had 4, you go through stages where you think, God, all I seem to do is rouse on the kids. But I think in the long run it'll work out. I think some people kind of give up. They just stop being a leader of their kids, if that makes sense. And just because you're being a leader doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. But I think you've got to be a leader of your family. It's like the drinking thing. If how can I tell me kids not to drink if I'm drinking every day? And if you're happy, no big deal. And I probably get hung up on the drinking thing a bit, from my upbringing and different things that I've been exposed to. But how can I sit here and tell me boys, you're not allowed to drink till you're 18, and every night I'm on the piss? That's the sort of stuff. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but if you want to be a leader of your family, you got to lead from example, And don't get me wrong, I've made plenty of mistakes, as we all do, I suppose. Sometimes I see fathers that are a bit more placid and easygoing, and I think, geez, I wish I was a bit more like that. But you just got to be happy with who you are. I grew up without a dad, so I watched dads all my life when I was younger, and I always used to think, geez, kind of happy I haven't got a dad. I don't want my dad to be like that. If I had one and he was like that, it wouldn't be good, so. And I had stepdads, I suppose. I never called anyone dad, but it's easy to pick up bad habits. But we've all got them, and it is what it is, you know. I'm kind of happy with where my family's at. We've lived a good life. Just lately I returned from a trip with the boys. Man, it was fun. You know, and we're going to start doing it every year now. You know, as we're starting to get apart more and more, I think it's important that we do make the effort to get together. We caught up, we went back to a little town where we used to live, and it's great fishing there, barramundi fishing, so we planned a trip to chase some barramundi. It was awesome. But what I realised is I'm not as young as I used to be. It was 2 weeks, you know, and we every morning in a boat, driving in a boat, fishing all day. We caught some great fish and had the best time. And you know, when you're in a boat, it's next level with your kids, you know. That's why I've been a big fan of fishing with me kids, you know. In a boat, it's just you and them. They don't disappear on you to their room, or they don't, you know, drift off. The TV's not blaring, so you can't talk. On a boat, you can just talk. So I really enjoyed that time, and we had 2 boats, so we sort of chopped and changed a little bit. So I got to spend a bit of one-on-one time with the boys, you know, the older boys, and even, you know, Lara, my daughter, and Mum, and Sarah, my wife. They come for a couple of days too, so we all went out together. Sarah's not into fishing, but I think she enjoys every now and again time like that. And any time she can spend with the older boys now that they've left home, it's pretty important. So yeah, we spent a bit of time on the boat, but holy shit, man, after 9 days on the boat, you know, I've never had it before, but my ankle started swelling up. I was sore, I was struggling to get out of bed. I tried not to let the boys know too much, but you know, mozzie bite, sunburn on top of sunburn. It was crazy, but it was a really good time. And I think it made me realise probably that I didn't do a bad job with my kids. You know, and that's, I suppose, as a dad, that's probably all you can ask for, you know. You do your best, and as the kids get older, you know, it's up to them how they want to turn out. I think sometimes, you know, I've worked a lot with kids and at-risk kids and trouble kids, and you know, just in schools with normal kids. I suppose every kid's normal, I don't know what I'm saying there, but, you know, kids blame their upbringing or their dad or their mum or this, use it as an excuse to be shitheads, or they use it as an excuse to fail. Don't, you know, I could easily use my upbringing. Everyone can use their upbringing for an excuse to fail, but what I've realised is don't ever let that be an excuse. Use it as a reason, you know. Everyone's got stories. Everyone's had shit happen to them that they could use as an excuse. What I've found is some of the people that have had maybe the toughest shit happen can be the biggest winners. So how does that work? They should fail at everything. If that theory was right, you know, your upbringing is what changes you. It makes you who you are. I think your upbringing, well, it's important, and it's pretty important. At any time you can decide to make yourself whoever you want to be. Another thing as I got older is I couldn't give a shit what people think anymore. You know, I suppose you never want to lose that little bit of caring what people think, I suppose, but, you know, what I've realised is people are that busy thinking about themselves, they couldn't give a shit about you, you know. And I sort of grew up, maybe it's from growing up without a dad, but, you know, I always tried to impress people, always tried to you know, show people that I was a good person, show people that I could work hard. You know, as I've got older, I've realised the only person I've got to really impress is myself. You know, look, I don't want people to think that I don't enjoy myself, because I do. I really have been blessed. You know, I'm just trying to get across how things have changed. I kind of enjoy these videos, actually. I'm enjoying this, so hope yous are enjoying it. It's not about me, it's about you, as they say on these bloody videos I watch trying to learn how to do this shit. But, you know, I genuinely do enjoy this. I do kind of enjoy chilling on weekends. I've never been able to chill much on weekends. Everyone says it these days, but I think I was a bit ADHD, you know. I was a bit hypo. Always had to do something. I think my mind is pretty active, you know, and I have trouble steadying my mind. But as I've got older, I've got better at that. I don't know if any of us are like me, but you know, I kind of enjoy helping people or passing on information. I kind of feel like that's what I want to do, and that's what my life, I've always fell back into that kind of stuff. I've done 30 years I've been doing training, like training around agriculture and lately maritime stuff, and it's kind of feel like that's my purpose. I feel good at it, good about doing it. You know, I suppose what I've realised is everyone's different too, you know. Some people will never change. And is that a bad thing? I'm not sure. You know, sometimes it's good just to be happy in your own skin. If something's working, stick at it. But for me, I really enjoy change. Maybe I enjoy it too much. I don't stick at shit for too long. I'm always, you know, jobs, business, I've always chopped and changed, and I suppose at some stage you need to stick at something a bit longer. There's probably times when I've jumped from businesses or jobs even too early, but I wouldn't change anything, you know. I always think, you know, imagine being someone who's just happy to just do, to me, boring stuff like rock up at work every day. You know, I don't want anyone who does that to feel like I'm bagging them, because I'm not, because it's a great thing to do if you're happy doing that, you know. Just keep working, retire, you get a heap of super. That's something that I've worked out, you know. We've had businesses, work for myself a lot, and superannuation, you know, like I feel like sometimes, you know, I should have more super, but what I reckon is I don't need as much to survive as most people, and I've always been kind of good at getting by. We've had times when we've had no money, but I've always known how to make money, which is the kind of thing, and maybe as I get older that'll get harder, but I don't think so. And while I'm talking about, you know, being behind or things changing, I don't think it's end of the earth if you're behind. Maybe you're not behind, you know. Like I said, shit's changing that quick. We get information, you watch a bit of YouTube and you think, oh shit, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I think sometimes the best thing you can do is just be happy where you're at. But if you want more, do more. You know, like that saying said, if you want to know where you'll be in 5 or 10 years' time, look at someone who's doing what you're doing right now. And if you want to be where they are, just keep doing it, you know. And maybe you do want to just do what you're doing now. And like I said, I kind of wish sometimes that I was happy with that. But you know, I want to move. I want to be able to, you know, this stage in my life is all about the future and freedom. You know, I don't want to be tied into a job. You know, I'm only 50 and I've got plenty more years of productivity. And you could say, well, you know, why are you looking for more? You could have 10 more years or 15 more years in a job, but the way I'm looking at it is I've only got 10 or 15 more years where I'm really productive. Do I want to waste that for someone else? And I don't. I want to build something for myself and my family, you know, so I can go and see the grandkids. You know, I've got a 22-year-old. Who knows? It might be 20 years, might never have kids, but if he has kids, or the other 20-year-old son, or even the 18-year-old, I hope all of them don't rush into it. But when they do have kids, I want to be ready. I want to be able to go and help them. I know that's a big motivation for my wife too, you know. We want to be able to go and help our kids if they need it. When they got kids, we want to be part of our grandkids' life. And if we're stuck in the middle of nowhere working a job, That's a lot harder. I want to be able to, something happens, right, I'll be there. You know, and if you got a job and a boss to ask permission, that's not for me, you know. So yeah, I hope you've got something from this. I kind of got something talking about it anyway. So if you did get something from it and you're still watching now, hit that sub button, chuck in a comment. I really enjoy the comments. I really enjoy people commenting back. You know, this YouTube stuff, you feel like one video goes pretty good, and then the next couple, like, shit, I thought I did the same thing. So, you know, if people jump on and chuck a like or talk, it makes you feel like you're actually achieving something. Anyway, guys, thanks for your time, and talk to you on the next one.